All right, Tina, we do want to continue that conversation about these protests. Benjamin Radd, professor of political science and global studies at UCLA, is joining us this morning. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning.
Yeah, so as we kind of mentioned, these anti-government protests in Iran started late last year. They've just spread across the country here in the last week. And this started over economic issues. It's turned into a broader movement now. Take us back through what these people want and what the biggest issue is.
Well, this is a government, a regime that is suffering from mismanagement of its own making. There has been rampant inflation. There has been a devaluation of the currency. Job opportunities are scarce. And you have mismanagement of water supplies. Electricity is shut off through many hours of the day. So effectively, it's a government that is failing to provide economic safety net and social services for the majority of its citizens. And you're beginning to see this bubble over across multiple class divides, socioeconomic divides, which is relatively new. In the past, the protests have been isolated to one group or another. This is now sort of spreading across these different cleavages in society and uniting them over a common anger and frustration at the leadership.
Well, so that's one piece of this that's a little bit different. Can you talk about some of the other parts of this movement that seem different?
Well, it's also building upon the protest movement that started from the Women Life Freedom movement, the restoring civil, or really bringing civil liberties and individual freedoms back to ordinary Iranians. I mean, it's a culmination of a collection of grievances that Iranians have had against their government now for decades. And what it is, it's capitalizing on an international climate that is now more ripe for change in Iran. You have Iran's international reach, its axis of proxies have been weakened and destabilized. Its list of allies grows shorter by the week. And so it's not in a position that it is able to fend off these protests and to oppress them in the way that it has without bringing additional risk to its own legitimacy and survival.
Okay, and so if we look at things globally, how is the situation in Venezuela impacting what Iranian protesters, you think, are doing?
Well, what it's demonstrating is that the United States, under this president, under President Trump's second term, is actually willing to engage militarily using kinetic operations, military strikes, military action in order to bring about stabilization in a country that it believes is of national security and of regional importance. In other words, the United States will use force to replace leadership it does not like, that it sees as being hostile to the United States and to U.S. interests. So President Trump had signaled that about Venezuela. He carried through, and now he's made similar rhetoric with regards to Iran. And so the feeling there is that this is something that he might carry through with as well.
There is some reporting this morning out of Axios that Iranian foreign minister did meet with White House envoy Steve Witkoff over the weekend. What do you make of these types of discussions and the fact that the president has also said that, you know, we may step in here?
This Iranian regime had an opportunity to negotiate with the Trump administration over the nuclear deal last year. They declined to do so because the U.S. is pushing for zero enrichment on its nuclear program following the strikes of last summer. The Iranians are now reconsidering. They're realizing that at this point, pursuing their nuclear program is not giving them the deterrence they want. It's not giving them the stability and the security they want. And they're not able to sell it to the Iranian people who don't see any benefit to this standoff with the United States that's resulted in these severe sanctions that have led to or have been a part of the economic troubles that they've been facing. So what we're seeing now is an attempt by the Iranians to backtrack and say, wait a minute, okay, let's revisit this. We actually do need to pursue something that's going to give us some relief. And if that means dialogue with the U.S., then so be it.
Do you think the odds are in their favor that this will actually be productive, that things will end up better on the other side of this?
It's what many of us who've been watching the events of the last few weeks should be saying is that it is entirely unpredictable. We simply don't know, and anyone that tries to predict would be doing so, I think, making a huge risk that we don't know the direction this will take. We don't know if the United States or Israel, for that matter, will take some kind of decisive military or non-military action to tilt what we're seeing in one way or the other. It's just way too soon to tell. And again, because of the communications blackout from Iran, it's difficult to understand exactly what's happening on the ground besides the random images and videos that are able to make their way through.
Well, and the president has said he's going to rely on Elon Musk to potentially get some of those communications back up and running. So there's a lot of moving parts here. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.